Captain Jake Morrison floated in the zero gravity of the observation deck, his eyes fixed on the massive alien structure that had appeared 3 days ago. The thing was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. It looked like a giant crystal that someone had carved into sharp points and smooth curves. Strange lights moved across its surface in patterns that made his head hurt if he looked too long. "Captain, you need to see this," Dr. Lisa Hamilton called from across the room. She was floating near a bank of computers, her short brown hair sticking up in all directions. Space did that to hair, and after 6 months on the research ship New Horizon, everyone had gotten used to it. Jake pushed off from the wall and drifted over to her station. The screen showed lines of code streaming past faster than he could read. "What am I looking at, Lisa?" "Remember how we've been trying to decode their communication signals?" she asked, pointing to one of the displays. "Well, I think I found something strange buried in all the alien talk." "Strange how?" Lisa pulled up another screen. This one showed simpler text, words that Jake actually recognized. "This is what I found hidden in their security protocols. Look at this line here." "Jake, read the text out loud." "If status equals ready, then execute program." He looked at Lisa with confusion. "That's basic computer language, really old basic computer language." "Exactly," Lisa said, getting excited. "This is Fortran code from the 1970s, and look at this section here." She pointed to another part of the screen. "Assembly language from the 1960s. Some of this code is older than my grandfather." Commander Ryan Clark floated over to join them. His weathered face looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. At 55, he was the oldest person on the ship and had seen more space missions than anyone else in the crew. "Are you telling me that aliens are using programming languages from Earth?" "Not just using them," Lisa explained. "Their entire communication system is built around them. It's like they took our oldest computer languages and used them as the foundation for everything else." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "How long would they have had to study us to learn those languages?" "Those programming languages were used mainly between 1950 and 1990, Lisa said. "If they learned them while we were still using them, they've been watching us for at least 30 years, maybe longer." Ryan rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "Or maybe they found old transmissions floating in space. Radio signals, television broadcasts, computer data that leaked out into space decades ago." "That's what I thought at first," Lisa said, "but look at this." She brought up a new screen showing a complex diagram. "This isn't just copied code. They understand how it works. They've improved it, made it more efficient, and built their whole network around it." Jake studied the diagram. Even with his limited programming knowledge, he could see what Lisa meant. The alien system was like a massive tree, with the old Earth code forming the roots and trunk, while strange new alien additions formed the branches and leaves. "There's more," Lisa continued. "I've been monitoring their security systems, and they're using authentication methods based on old Earth encryption. The kind of stuff that hackers used to break into systems in the 1980s and 1990s. "You mean their security is based on ancient Earth hacking techniques?" Ryan asked. "Not just based on them. It's exactly the same, just scaled up and made more complex." Lisa's fingers danced across her keyboard, bringing up more examples. "Look at this login sequence. It's almost identical to the old Unix systems from the 1970s. Jake felt his heart start to beat faster. "Lisa, are you saying what I think you're saying? If their security is built on old Earth technology, then maybe we can use old Earth methods to get through it," she said quietly. The three of them stared at the screens in silence. Outside the observation windows, the alien fortress continued its slow rotation, its lights pulsing in patterns that seemed almost hypnotic. "We need to contact Earth immediately," Ryan said. "This changes everything." Jake nodded. "Lisa, how confident are you about this?" 90% sure, she replied. "I've run the analysis 3 times, and the patterns are consistent. Their system architecture is definitely based on ancient Earth programming languages." "What about the other 10%? Lisa hesitated. "The other 10% is the possibility that this is all a trap. that they want us to think their security is based on old Earth code, so we'll try to hack them. Why would they do that? Jake asked. To study how we think. To see what methods we use when we try to break into their systems. Lisa's voice was barely above a whisper. If they've been watching us for decades, they might know us better than we know ourselves. Ryan was already moving toward the communication station. We need to report this to Earth Command right now. Whatever the risk, this information is too important to keep to ourselves. As Ryan began composing the message to Earth, Jake found himself staring at the alien fortress again. The structure was beautiful in its own way, but there was something unsettling about it. It sat in space like a patient predator waiting for something. Lisa, he said without turning around. In all your analysis, have you found any indication of what they want from us? Their broadcasts have been pretty clear about that, she replied. They want us to surrender unconditionally. They say they represent something called the Galactic Dominion, and they claim that humanity is too primitive to govern itself. But if they've been studying us for decades, why make contact now? Lisa was quiet for a long moment. Maybe they think we're getting too dangerous. Our technology has advanced rapidly in the past 50 years. Maybe they're worried about what we might become if they don't step in now. Jake turned back to the screen showing the alien code. Or maybe they think we're ready? Ready for what? To be part of their galactic community? Maybe all this talk about primitive species is just their way of testing us. Ryan finished his message and turned to face them. The transmission is away. Earth Command should receive it in about 20 minutes. What did you tell them? Jake asked everything. The code analysis, the security vulnerabilities, and our theory about how long they've been watching us. Ryan's expression was grim. I also recommended that we prepare for the possibility of an infiltration mission. Infiltration? Lisa looked shocked. You mean actually go inside that thing? If their security is really based on old Earth code, then a small team with the right knowledge might be able to get inside, Ryan explained. It would be incredibly dangerous, but it might be our only chance to learn what they really want. Jake looked out at the alien fortress again. The idea of going inside that massive structure terrified him, but Ryan was right. If there was even a small chance that they could gain an advantage through their knowledge of old Earth technology, they had to try. How long before we hear back from Earth? He asked. 6 hours minimum, Ryan replied. Maybe longer if they need to consult with the experts. Then we wait, Jake said. And we keep analyzing those signals. Lisa, I want you to dig deeper into their code. Look for any weaknesses, any patterns that might help us understand how to get inside. Already on it, Lisa said, turning back to her screens. But Jake, if we're really considering an infiltration mission, we need to understand something important. What's that? If they've been watching us for decades, they might know exactly how we think. They might be expecting us to try exactly what we're planning to do. Jake nodded grimly. Then we'll have to be smarter than they expect us to be. As the New Horizon continued its orbit around the alien fortress, the three humans worked in quiet concentration, unaware that they were about to become part of the most important mission in human history. The emergency meeting room deep beneath Colorado Springs buzzed with nervous energy. General Patricia Hayes sat at the head of the long metal table, her steel-gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Around her sat the most important people in the world, all trying to figure out how to save humanity from aliens who claimed to know what was best for them. The message from the New Horizon arrived 6 hours ago, General Hayes announced to the room. I'll let Dr. Parker explain what it means. Dr. Kevin Parker stood up slowly. At 62, he was one of the few people on Earth who still remembered the old programming languages from his college days. His thick glasses reflected the light from the overhead screens as he cleared his throat. The aliens have been watching us for much longer than we thought, he began. Their entire computer system is built on programming languages that we used in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, languages like Fortran, COBOL, and assembly code. Secretary of Defense Robert Gray leaned forward. What does that mean for us? It means Their security systems are based on technology we invented and then abandoned, Dr. Parker explained. They've made it more complex, but the basic structure is something we created decades ago. So we can break into their systems? Asked Dr. Maria Santos, the head of the Space Defense Initiative. Possibly, Dr. Parker said carefully. The problem is that they've had decades to study our old security methods? They might know exactly how we would try to attack their systems. General Hayes tapped her fingers on the table. What are our options? We have 3 choices, Dr. Parker said, bringing up a presentation on the main screen. First, we can surrender and hope they treat us well. Second, we can try to fight them with conventional weapons, which probably won't work since their technology is clearly superior to ours. Third, we can attempt what I call a cyber infiltration mission. Explain the third option, General Hayes ordered. Dr. Parker clicked to the next slide. We send a small team to their ship with portable computers loaded with old Earth viruses and hacking programs. If they can get inside the alien command center, they might be able to use our old techniques to take control of their systems. The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral John Mitchell spoke up. This sounds incredibly dangerous. How would we even get people inside that thing? The New Horizon has been monitoring their docking procedures, Dr. Parker explained. The aliens use standard airlock systems, probably copied from our own designs. A small stealth shuttle could potentially dock with their ship during one of their routine operations. And then what? Secretary Gray asked. Even if we get inside, how do we know the team won't be captured or killed immediately? We don't, Dr. Parker admitted. But we have one advantage. The aliens seem to think of us as primitive children. They might not expect us to be capable of sophisticated cyber warfare. General Hayes looked around the table. Who would go on this mission? The team would need to be very small, Dr. Parker said. 3 people maximum. We'd need a pilot who can handle a stealth shuttle, a hacker who understands the old programming languages, and an infiltration specialist who can move through enemy territory without being detected. Do we have people with those skills? Admiral Mitchell asked. Yes, General Hayes replied. Amy Richardson is our best stealth pilot. She's flown missions into hostile territory before. Jack Stevens is a former military hacker who specialized in breaking into old computer systems. And Nina Torres has more experience with infiltration than anyone else in our special forces. Dr. Santos shook her head. This is insane. We're talking about sending 3 people against an entire alien ship. It's not as crazy as it sounds, Dr. Parker said. If their security is really based on old Earth code, then 3 people with the right knowledge might be more effective than an entire army. What kind of old code are we talking about? General Hayes asked. Dr. Parker smiled for the first time during the meeting. I've been working with a team of retired programmers for the past 6 hours. We've recreated some of the most effective computer viruses from the 1980s and 90s. Programs like the Morris worm, the Stuxnet virus, and several others that were designed to exploit exactly the kind of security vulnerabilities we think the aliens are using. Will those old viruses work on alien systems? Secretary Gray asked. We've modified them based on the code samples from the New Horizon, Dr. Parker explained. The basic attack methods should still work, but we've updated them to handle the alien improvements. Admiral Mitchell leaned back in his chair. What are the chances of success? Honestly? Maybe 30%, Dr. Parker said. But if we do? Nothing. Our chances are 0. The aliens have given us 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. After that, they say they'll begin what they call the administration process. What does that mean? Dr. Santos asked. Based on their broadcasts, they plan to take control of all our governments, our military, and our technology, General Hayes explained. They claim it's for our own good, but it means the end of human freedom. The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Secretary Gray spoke up. What do you need for this mission? Time, resources, and permission to modify one of our stealth shuttles, Dr. Parker said. We also need to brief the team on exactly what they'll be facing. How long do you need? General Hayes asked. 18 hours minimum. The shuttle modifications alone will take at least 12 hours, and we need time to load the computers with the attack programs and brief the team. Do it, General Hayes ordered. I'll contact the president and get approval for the mission. As the meeting broke up, Dr. Parker gathered his notes and prepared to leave. Dr. Santos caught up with him in the hallway. Kevin, do you really think this will work? She asked quietly. I think it's our only chance, he replied. The aliens have been watching us for decades, but they've been watching from a distance. They understand our technology, but they don't understand our spirit. What do you mean? They think we're primitive because we're chaotic and unpredictable. But that chaos and unpredictability might be exactly what we need to surprise them. Meanwhile, in a secure facility across the base, Amy Richardson was reviewing the technical specifications for the stealth shuttle Phoenix. The small black craft had been designed for reconnaissance missions, but it had never been tested against alien technology. The modifications will reduce our stealth capability by about 15%, reported Chief Engineer Bill Walker. But we need the extra space for the quantum computers and the equipment for the infiltration team. Will we still be able to get close to their ship without being detected? Amy asked. Probably. The aliens seem to be using energy-based detection systems. Our stealth technology is specifically designed to avoid those kinds of sensors. Amy nodded. How long can we stay? Docked with their ship? The shuttle has enough power for about 6 hours of operations while docked, Bill explained. After that, we'll need to return to the New Horizon to recharge. 6 hours should be enough, Amy said. If the team can't complete their mission, in 6 hours they probably won't be able to complete it at all. In another part of the base, Jack Stevens was testing the modified computer viruses on a simulation of the alien system. The programs were working, but he wasn't sure if they would be effective enough to take control of an entire alien ship. The key is to find their central processing unit, he explained to his assistant. If we can infect their main computer, the viruses should spread through their entire network. What if they have backup systems? His assistant asked. They probably do, Jack admitted. But remember, their security is based on old Earth designs. The backup systems will probably have the same vulnerabilities as the main system. Nina Torres was in the training facility, practicing moving through tight spaces without making noise. The alien ship would be full of unknown dangers, and she needed to be ready for anything. The mission parameters are simple, she told her training partner. Get in, find the command center, protect the hacker while he does his work, and get out. But simple doesn't mean easy. As the hours passed, all 3 team members prepared for what might be the most important mission in human history. They knew. The odds were against them, but they also knew that sometimes the most desperate situations called for the most desperate measures. General Hayes stood in the command center, watching the preparations through the security cameras. In 18 hours, 3 humans would attempt to infiltrate an alien ship using technology that was older than most of the people in the room. It was either brilliant or insane, and she wasn't sure which. Ma'am, her aide approached with a message. The president has approved the mission. Good, General Hayes replied. Now we just have to hope that our old computer tricks can outsmart beings who have been traveling between stars for who knows how long. Outside, the alien fortress continued its patient orbit, waiting for humanity's answer to their demands. They had no idea that the answer would come in the form of 3 humans, with nothing but courage and some very old computer code. The stealth shuttle Phoenix moved through space like a black shadow against the stars. Amy Richardson kept her hands steady on the controls as they approached the massive alien fortress. The ship was even more impressive up close, its crystalline surface reflecting the distant light of the sun in patterns that seemed almost alive. Energy field detection shows multiple layers of defense, Amy whispered into her headset. But they're all focused outward, looking for big ships or weapons. They're not expecting something as small as us. Behind her, Jack Stevens checked his equipment one more time. The quantum computer sat in a reinforced case, loaded with dozens of modified viruses and hacking programs. Next to him, Nina Torres adjusted her infiltration gear, making sure every tool was exactly where she needed. It. Remember the plan, came Dr. Parker's voice over the radio from Earth. Find a service entrance, avoid the main areas, and get to the command center as quickly as possible. You have 6 hours of power, but try to be out in 4. Copy that, Amy replied. Beginning approach to the docking area. The alien fortress was rotating slowly, and Amy could see several small ports along its lower section. These looked like maintenance hatches, places where smaller ships might dock for routine operations. She picked one that seemed less active than the others and began her approach. Electromagnetic interference is increasing, she reported. But the stealth systems are holding. They don't seem to know we're here. As they got closer, Jack could see the alien structure more clearly. The walls weren't just crystal. They were some kind of living material that pulsed with soft light. It was beautiful, but also strange and unsettling. Docking in 30 seconds, Amy announced. Everyone ready? Nina was already moving toward the airlock. Systems check complete. Breathing apparatus working, communication gear active, and all infiltration tools secured. Computer systems are running perfectly, Jack added. All virus programs loaded and ready to deploy. The Phoenix connected with the alien docking port with a soft thud. Amy ran through her shutdown procedures, leaving only the essential systems running to conserve power. The airlock is cycling, Nina reported. The atmosphere on the other side is breathable, but I'm keeping the breathing gear on just in case. The inner door opened with a soft hiss, and the 3 humans got their first look inside an alien spacecraft. The corridor was wide and curved, with walls that seemed to glow from within. The floor was smooth and slightly soft, like walking on thick carpet. It's warm, Jack observed, and there's a faint humming sound like electrical equipment. Stay close and stay quiet, Nina whispered. We don't know what kind of sensors they have in here. They moved down the corridor, their footsteps making almost no sound on the soft floor. The walls curved in ways that didn't quite make sense, and there were no sharp corners anywhere. Everything flowed together in organic shapes. Which way to? The command center? Amy asked. Nina consulted a small scanner. According to the structural analysis from the New Horizon, it should be toward the center of the ship. We need to go up about 6 levels. They found what looked like a transport tube, a circular shaft that went up through the ship. There was no elevator, but the walls had handholds that seemed designed for climbing. I'll go first, Nina said. Wait for my signal before following. She began climbing, moving quickly but carefully. The handholds were spaced for beings taller than humans, but they were still usable. After a few minutes, her voice came through. The CUM system. Level 2 is clear. Some kind of storage area. Keep climbing. Level 3 was more active. Through the transparent walls of the transport tube, they could see alien figures moving around. The beings were tall and graceful, with long limbs and faces that seemed to shimmer with internal light. They're beautiful, Amy whispered. Stay focused, Nina replied. Beautiful doesn't mean friendly. Level 4 seemed to be living quarters. The spaces were large and open, with furniture that looked more like art than practical items. The aliens moved with purpose, but there was also something peaceful about their movements. They don't seem evil, Jack observed. Just different. Evil or not, they want to take away our freedom, Nina reminded him. Keep moving. Level 5 was clearly some kind of technical area. The walls were covered with displays showing streams of data, and several aliens worked at control stations. Nina held up her hand, signaling the others to stop. Wait here, she whispered. I need to find a way around this area. She moved ahead, using her infiltration training to stay hidden behind the curved walls and display screens. The aliens were so focused on their work that they didn't notice her slip past. All clear, she signaled, but be very quiet. Level 6 was the command center. The 3 humans emerged from the transport tube into a vast spherical room lined with what looked like living computers. Streams of light connected floating data nodes, and in the center of the room was a massive holographic display showing real-time images of Earth's major cities. That's it, Jack whispered, the main computer core. But the room wasn't empty. Several aliens moved around the control systems, their long fingers dancing across interfaces that responded to their touch. In the center of the room, one alien, who seemed to be in command, was studying the Earth display. "We need to wait for them to leave," Nina said. "Or create a distraction. No time," Jack replied. "Look at the display. They're preparing to begin the administration process. We need to act now." The alien commander gestured toward the Earth display and spoke in a language that sounded like music. The translation systems in their suits picked up the meaning. "The primitive species shows promise, but they lack the wisdom to govern themselves properly. We must begin the intervention before they destroy their beautiful world." Jack felt a chill. These aliens weren't conquering Earth out of malice. They genuinely believed they were helping humanity. "That makes this even more important," he whispered. "We need to show them what humans are really capable of." Nina nodded. "Can you access their system from here?" Jack opened his quantum computer and began scanning for network access points. "Yes, but I need to get closer to the main interface." "About 20 meters. I'll create a distraction," Nina said. "When the aliens move to investigate, you run for the interface." "What kind of distraction?" Nina pulled a small device from her kit. "Emergency beacon. It will broadcast a signal that should confuse their sensors." She activated the device and threw it to the far side of the room. Immediately, alarms began sounding and the aliens moved toward the disturbance. "Go," Nina whispered. Jack ran toward the central interface, his quantum computer in hand. The alien controls were strange, but the underlying logic was familiar. He began connecting his system to their network. "I'm in," he announced, beginning virus deployment. The first program he launched was a modified version of the Morris worm, designed to spread through network connections. Within seconds, it had infected dozens of alien systems. "It's working," he reported. "But their security is fighting back. I need more time." Amy was watching the aliens, who were becoming more agitated as they realized something was wrong with their systems. "They're starting to look in our direction." "Almost finished," Jack said. "I'm uploading the main virus now." But as he worked, the alien commander turned and looked directly at him. For a moment, their eyes met across the room. The alien's expression was one of surprise rather than anger. "Human," the commander said in perfect English. "You should not be here." "Maybe not," Jack replied, continuing to work. "But here we are." The alien began walking toward him, but didn't seem hostile. "Your species is more resourceful than we calculated." "We're full of surprises," Jack said. "Upload complete." "Nina, Amy, we need to go, now." The three humans began moving toward the transport tube, but the alien commander called out to them. "Wait, you have accessed our systems using your own ancient technology. This was not predicted in our models. Your models are wrong about a lot of things." Amy said over her shoulder as they reached the tube. As they began their descent, Jack's viruses were spreading through the alien network. The programs were designed not to destroy, but to reveal. They began showing the aliens data about humanity that had been filtered out of their observations. "Phase 1 complete," Jack reported as they reached the docking level. "But this is just the beginning." They reached the Phoenix and began the undocking procedure. As they pulled away from the alien fortress, the massive structure's lights began changing patterns. "What's happening?" Amy asked. "The viruses are working," Jack explained. "They're showing the aliens what we're really like. Not just our wars and conflicts, but our art, our music, our love for each other." The Phoenix accelerated away from the fortress, heading back toward the new horizon. Behind them, the alien ship continued its slow rotation, but something had changed. The lights were different now, less cold and more curious. "Mission accomplished." Amy reported to Earth. "Package delivered." "Good work," came General Hayes' voice. "What happens now?" Jack looked back at the alien fortress one more time. "Now we wait and see if they're willing to learn something new about humanity." Commander Zephyr stood in the center of the command sphere, watching the strange data that had begun flooding their systems. For the first time in 300 cycles, the carefully organized information networks of the fortress were showing chaos, But this chaos was different from the random destruction they had expected from the primitive species below. "Status report," Zephyr commanded, their voice carrying the musical tones of their people. Navigation Officer Lyra approached, her elongated form moving with graceful concern. "Commander, the intrusion programs are spreading through all our systems. But they are not destroying anything. Instead, they are revealing hidden data files that we did not know existed." Hidden data? Information about the species below that was somehow filtered from our observation records. Art, music, literature, acts of kindness between strangers. Our computer systems have been showing us only conflict and chaos for decades. Zephyr felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. Their people had been watching the blue planet for over 200 cycles, carefully studying the primitive beings who called themselves humans. The data had consistently shown a species too violent and unpredictable to be trusted with advanced technology. "Show me," Zephyr ordered. The main display changed, no longer showing the military installations and conflict zones of Earth. Instead, it showed a human female helping an injured animal, a group of humans working together to build shelter for those who had none, children from different tribes playing together despite the conflicts of their parents. "When was this data collected?" Zephyr asked. "The same time periods as our other observations," Lyra replied. "But it was automatically classified as irrelevant to our assessment protocols." More images appeared. Humans creating beautiful music, writing stories that spoke of hope and wonder. Scientists working together across tribal boundaries to cure diseases and explore the universe. The contrast with their existing data was shocking. On the Phoenix, now safely docked with the New Horizon, Jack was monitoring the alien systems through his quantum computer. The viruses were working exactly as planned, but the response from the alien ship was not what he had expected. "They're not trying to remove the viruses," he reported to Dr. Parker over the communication link. "They're studying them. It's like they want to understand what we've shown them." "Are they still planning to begin the administration process?" Dr. Parker asked. Jack checked the alien communication channels. "Unknown. Their internal communications have increased by 300%, but I can't decode most of it. It's like they're having a massive debate about something." "Captain." Jake Morrison joined the conversation from the New Horizons bridge. "Our sensors show that their weapon systems are still powered down. Whatever they're discussing, it doesn't seem to involve immediate military action." Back on the alien fortress, Commander Zephyr was experiencing something their people had no word for. The closest translation would be doubt, but it carried implications that went far beyond simple uncertainty. They were questioning not just their mission, but the fundamental assumptions their civilization had made about the species below. "Summon the Council of Observers," Zephyr commanded. "All senior staff to the analysis chamber immediately." Within minutes, the ship's senior officers had gathered in a smaller chamber adjacent to the command sphere. The walls here were covered with displays showing decades of observation data about Earth and its inhabitants. "We have a problem," Zephyr began. "The humans have somehow revealed flaws in our analysis methods that have existed for over 2 centuries. Science Officer Korith stepped forward. "Commander, our observation protocols have been used successfully on 47 different species. The methods are proven and reliable." "Are they?" Zephyr gestured to the displays. "Show me the last species." We administered. The displays changed to show images of a world with blue-green seas and purple vegetation. The inhabitants were tall and thin, with technology roughly equivalent to Earth's industrial age. "The Viridians," Korith said. "They were successfully integrated into the Galactic Dominion 60 cycles ago. They showed the same patterns of conflict and environmental destruction as the humans. And now?" Korith hesitated. "They are productive members of the Dominion. Their world is stable and peaceful. But are they still Viridians?" Zephyr asked quietly. The question hung in the air like a challenge. Under Dominion administration, the Viridians had indeed become peaceful and productive. But they had also lost much of what made them unique. Their art had become standardized, their music had been replaced with approved compositions, and their natural curiosity had been channeled into safe, approved research projects. They are safe, Korath said finally. Their world will never again face the threat of self-destruction. But they are no longer truly alive, said Cultural Observer Nexus from across the room. I have been reviewing the human data that was revealed by their intrusion programs. This species creates beauty in the midst of chaos. They help strangers with no expectation of reward. They dream of exploring the stars not for conquest, but for wonder. Irrelevant emotional responses, Korath replied. These traits make them unpredictable and dangerous. Or, Zephyr said slowly, these traits make them valuable in ways we never considered. The debate continued for hours. Some officers argued that the new data changed nothing, that chaos was chaos regardless of its source. Others suggested that perhaps the humans deserved a chance to prove themselves without Dominion intervention. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Emergency Council was in session again. The alien ultimatum had expired 12 hours ago, but instead of beginning their administration process, the aliens had gone silent. No communications, no movement, no change in their weapon status, reported General Hayes. It's like they're thinking. The viruses are still active in their systems, Dr. Parker added. According to the telemetry from Jack's computer, they're accessing the hidden data files we revealed. They're learning about us. Is that good or bad? Asked Secretary Gray. Unknown, Dr. Parker admitted. We showed them aspects of humanity that they had been ignoring. How they respond to that information will determine whether we've saved ourselves or made things worse. President Martinez, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke. What exactly did we show them? Everything their observation systems had been filtering out, Dr. Parker explained. Acts of kindness, artistic achievements, scientific cooperation, examples of humans working together to solve problems instead of creating them. But we also have wars, crime, environmental destruction, the president pointed out. Were we lying to them? No, Dr. Parker said firmly. We were showing them the complete picture. The aliens had been seeing only our conflicts and problems. They weren't seeing our capacity for growth, for cooperation, for beauty. Back on the alien fortress, Commander Zephyr made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Open a communication channel to the human ship, they ordered. Commander? Lyra asked in surprise. We need to speak with the beings who infiltrated our systems. They have shown us something we need to understand better. The communication system activated, and for the first time, direct contact was established between the alien fortress and the New Horizon. Human vessel, this is Commander Zephyr of the Galactic Dominion ship Eternal Harmony. We request a meeting with the individuals who accessed our computer systems. Captain Morrison looked at his crew in amazement. This is Captain Morrison of the New Horizon. We're willing to talk. We wish to understand, Zephyr continued. Your species has capabilities that our models did not predict. You have shown us aspects of your civilization that we had not observed. We need to know if these represent your true nature or merely anomalies. Jack stepped forward. Commander Zephyr, this is Jack Stevens. I'm the one who introduced the programs into your systems. What you've seen represents the complete picture of humanity, not just the parts your observation protocols were designed to detect. You infiltrated our ship using ancient technology from your own world, Zephyr said. This suggests a level of ingenuity and adaptability that contradicts our assessments. We're full of contradictions, Jack replied. That's what makes us human. We can be violent and peaceful, destructive and creative, selfish and selfless, sometimes all in the same day. There was a long pause before Zephyr responded. This is precisely what our models identified as dangerous chaos. Or, Jack said, it's what you might call freedom. The freedom to choose who we want to be and how we want to live. Another pause. We would like to send a representative to your ship to continue this discussion. Will you accept a diplomatic contact? Captain. Morrison looked around the bridge at his crew. They were making history and everyone knew it. We would be honored to receive your representative, Commander Zephyr. As the two ships prepared for the first formal diplomatic contact between humans and aliens, both sides knew that the universe was about to change forever. The airlock doors of the New Horizon opened with a soft hiss, and Commander Zephyr stepped into the human ship. The alien was even more impressive in person than on the video screens. Nearly 8 feet tall, with limbs that seemed to flow like water and a face that shifted with patterns of soft light, Zephyr moved with a grace that made the humans feel clumsy by comparison. Captain Morrison stepped forward to greet their visitor. "Commander Zephyr, welcome aboard the New Horizon." Captain Jake Morrison. "Captain Morrison," Zephyr replied, their voice carrying musical tones that the translation devices turned into recognizable words. "I must admit, this is not how we expected our first contact to proceed. Nothing about this situation has gone as anyone expected," Jake replied with a small smile. "Would you like to see our command center?" As they walked through the corridors of the human ship, Zephyr observed everything with intense curiosity. The walls were straight lines and sharp corners, so different from the flowing curves of their own vessel. The crew members they passed stared openly at the alien visitor, their faces showing mixtures of fear, wonder, and excitement. "Your people show their emotions very clearly," Zephyr observed. "We're not very good at hiding what we think," Jake admitted. "Is that a problem for your people?" "We were taught that emotional displays indicate a lack of control and wisdom," Zephyr said. "But watching your data files, I begin to wonder if our teachings were incomplete." They reached the command center where Jack Stevens was waiting with his quantum computer still connected to the alien systems. Dr. Lisa Hamilton stood nearby, along with Commander Ryan Clark and several other senior officers. "Commander Zephyr," Jack said, standing as the alien entered. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting." "Thank you for showing us what we had been missing," Zephyr replied. "Your infiltration of our systems was impressive, but the information you revealed was more valuable than any military victory." Jack gestured to his computer screens, which were still displaying data from the alien network. "Your observation protocols were filtering out anything that didn't fit your definition of primitive behavior. You were only seeing our conflicts and problems." "Yes," Zephyr said, approaching the displays. "For over 200 cycles, we believed your species was too chaotic and violent to be trusted with advanced technology. Our data supported this conclusion." "But the data was incomplete," Lisa said, stepping forward. "You were seeing our worst moments without seeing our best ones." Zephyr turned to look at her, the patterns of light on their face shifting to what might have been curiosity. "Show me what you mean." Lisa activated another screen, displaying images from the hidden data files. "This is a human named Maria Santos. She spent her entire life working to cure a disease that was killing children. She never got rich or famous, but her work saved millions of lives." Another image appeared. "This is David Kim. He was a teacher in a poor area where most children never learned to read. He spent his own money to buy books and stayed after work every day to help students. Many of those children grew up to become doctors, scientists, and artists." More images followed. "Humans helping strangers during natural disasters. Scientists sharing research freely across national boundaries. Artists creating beauty in the midst of poverty and war." "We are capable of terrible things," Jake admitted, "but we're also capable of wonderful things. The key is that we get to choose." "Choice," Zephyr repeated the word as if tasting it. "This concept appears frequently in your cultural data. You value the ability to make decisions, even wrong ones." "Especially wrong ones," Jack said. "Making mistakes and learning from them is how we grow, how we become better than we were." Zephyr was quiet for a long moment, studying the human faces around them. "This is what we do not understand. Why would any species choose to allow suffering and conflict when peace and order are possible?" "Because peace without choice isn't really peace," Ryan said, speaking for the first time. "It's just control. And we've learned that being controlled, even by people who mean well, eventually destroys what makes us human. But look at the results of your choices," Zephyr said, gesturing toward Earth on the main display. "Wars, poverty, environmental destruction. Your freedom has nearly destroyed your world." But it hasn't destroyed us, Lisa said firmly. And we're fixing the problems. Slowly, sometimes badly, but we're learning. Every generation does a little better than the one before. Jack pulled up more data on his screen. Commander, I want to show you something else. These are the records of the species you've already administered. The display showed worlds that had once been chaotic and diverse, now peaceful and uniform. Cities that looked identical across entire planets, populations that moved and worked. In perfect synchronization. They're safe, Zephyr said, but there was something in their tone that suggested doubt. But are they alive? Jack asked quietly. I mean really alive, not just existing? The question hung in the air. Zephyr looked at the images of the administered worlds, then back at the chaotic, messy, beautiful data from Earth. Your species creates music that makes no logical sense but somehow expresses emotions we do not have words for, Zephyr said slowly. You write stories about impossible things and call them true because they reveal something about the nature of existence. You help strangers you will never see again simply because it feels right to do so. Yes, Jake said, all of that. You do these things not because you are programmed to do them, but because you choose to do them. That's what makes them meaningful, Lisa added. A kindness that's forced isn't really kindness. Art that's required isn't really art. Love that's programmed isn't really love. Zephyr was quiet for several minutes, processing this information. Finally, they spoke again. We have been watching other species for thousands of cycles. We have administered 47 worlds. In every case, we brought peace and order. But we never asked if we were also taking away something essential. It's not too late to ask that question now, Jack said gently. What would you have us do? Zephyr asked. Simply leave your species alone? Allow you to continue making mistakes that could destroy your world? Help us, Jake said, but don't control us. Share your knowledge, your technology, your wisdom. Let us learn from you. But let us choose how to use what we learn. And if you choose badly, then we'll learn from our mistakes and choose better. Next time, Ryan said, that's what growth means. That's what freedom means. Zephyr looked around the room at the human faces, seeing something they had never noticed before in any species. These beings were not just intelligent, they were conscious in a way that transcended mere survival and reproduction. They were aware of their own existence and chose to find meaning in it. I must return to my ship and discuss this with my officers, Zephyr said finally. This conversation has given me much to consider. Of course, Jake said. Take all the time you need. As Zephyr prepared to leave, they turned back to the humans one more time. I have one final question. Why did you risk your lives to infiltrate our ship? You could have simply surrendered and lived comfortable, safe lives under our administration. Jack smiled, because a safe life that isn't freely chosen isn't really a life at all. It's just existing. And humans weren't made to just exist. We were made to live, to choose, to grow, to become something more than what we are. 2 days later, the alien fortress broadcast a message to Earth. Commander Zephyr's image appeared on screens around the world. People of Earth, they began. We came here believing that your species required our guidance to survive. We were wrong. You require something far more valuable than our protection. You require the freedom to choose your own path, even if that path is sometimes difficult, the broadcast continued. The Galactic Dominion extends an invitation to humanity to join us as equals, not as subjects. We offer our knowledge and friendship, but we will not impose our will upon you. The choice, as you would say, is yours. As celebrations erupted across Earth, Jack Stevens sat in the New Horizons observation deck, looking out at the alien fortress. The massive structure no longer seemed threatening. Instead, it looked like what it had always been meant to be, a bridge between worlds and species. What do you think will happen now? Lisa asked, joining him at the window. I think we're about to find out what humanity can accomplish when we're free to reach for the stars, Jack replied. And I think the galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place. The age of human isolation was ending, but more importantly, the age of human freedom among the stars was just beginning. And that freedom had been won not with weapons or threats, but with something far more powerful, the simple truth of what it meant to be human.